All right, Bill Wenger, please introduce yourself and take it away.
My name's Bill Wenger. I've been a landlord for, well, since 2016, actually, but I've been working with Purple Martins from 2005 on. My first experience was seeing a tree swallow go into my Bluebird house, and I'm thinking, is that a tree swallow or a Purple Martin? And the reason I questioned that is in 1972, Hurricane Agnes came through Pennsylvania and New Jersey, Maryland, and different places in the Northeast, and hovered over us for about 7 to 10 days and killed just about every Purple Martin around. So it took one of our prime sites 27 years that the PMCA worked with the Game Commission to get started. So, all the Purple Martin houses just deteriorated. So you think of 27 years, and I know Bob Allnock, it took him around 38 years to get a colony started. So it's been an uphill battle. I first started off in 2005 with this Coates Water's Edge Sweet House, and I made this pool, has a plastic PVC pipe over it, and some perch rods. I had 2 sets of perch rods, and I hung my gourds over it, and then I could just raise and lower this with this pulley. I never did have any martin's nest in that metal house. And I think a lot of people talk about if there's T14s around your area, you want to use T14s. If there's gourds, you want to use gourds. If there's metal houses that look like barns or a lot of the other houses, you want to duplicate those. I think those birds that fledge from those are actually looking for that type of housing. Now, I got an acre of ground here, but on my east side, which the trees you're looking at, they're about, I think I pasted off yesterday at 40 yards or so. And this is my north side. So I had trees there as well. And up where this trailer is, they had trees, 50, 60-foot maple trees along their house. So I was kind of confined in here. So what I did in 2012, I actually had one pair nest in a T14 that was roughly in that position right there. And they would shoot down through that hole to the left of that tall tree. 2013, I don't know if they come back. At that point, I was still working in Pittsburgh, and we only come up here on weekends. So it was very frustrating as far as multiple times I'd see second-year birds building nests when I went home on a Sunday night, and the following weekend I'd come up and a house sparrow had moved in and chased the Martin's away. So I talked to Andy Troyer, who lives about 30 minutes from me, and he came down and he suggested I had along this road here maples as a windbreak, and they were there when I bought the property in 75. He said he'd cut them down to open that wide open field. So we did that, and I put a 6 gourd rack up here, and it wasn't the next year, but the following year we had two pairs nest in there. The following year we put the T14 there, and we had 8 pair. And that was in 2017. Now last year I had 32 pair between these three, the 2 T14s and the 6 gourd rack. So it gets noisy, and a lot of times I've had some of these entrances blocked off so that I can push birds elsewhere. It took me so long to get them. I'd like to see other landlords to enjoy them too. The past week we've had some low temperatures. It was down to 21 this morning. So we've been feeding them, and here's what they call a bed and breakfast. It has 4 trays, and you can see I have eggshells in one. There was crickets in here earlier, and they ate all of them, and eggs, and I'll put bedding material in there, usually pine straw and regular straw. these are my Bluebird boxes here. I have 7 on site here. And one has a nest of bluebirds, which is down by some apple trees in that area. There's tree swallows in this one. I don't want to get anybody dizzy by moving too fast. There is a white gourd over there that has a tree swallow gourd, tree swallows nesting in it. If you were trying to start a colony, I definitely wouldn't want to try it to attract tree swallows. I've seen them chase many of martins away from here. So now, I mean, they're nesting 15 feet from the house with no problems. So we got the predator guards, we got the T14, the 6 gourd rack there. Here's a bunch of things that can help new landlords. I have different types of traps I pulled out of my shed today.
Oh, show and tell.
The birds go in here and get caught back in there. There's a ST1 trap back there. Here is a trap that a guy named Chuck Musser out of Eastern PA. This is broke right now, but the birds go in and then this flaps shut and the birds can't get back out. And it's similar to this for a bluebird house where they can enter, but then the plastic closes off and they can't get out. I believe a universal trap. And if you have T14 from Troyers, this is the trap that they have in their tunnels. You can see how they're built. And if any bird comes through there, then this metal sheet will go down and trap them in.
That's a Haskell trap, isn't it?
High school?
Haskell. Haskel.
Yes, Haskell. Years ago, I grew some gourds and I put the tunnel on there and the entrance. So I think it was 2009. I actually had 5 martins show up one Sunday afternoon, and the female went into the natural gourd. And I come up the following weekend, and here it had been cold for a couple days. And here the male was flying outside, and here the female had died inside the gourd. And a day or two later, the rest of them left. Most of you have heard of the Van Eert trap. This is for Bluebird boxes. It's really helpful at this time of year when house sparrows are trying to nest. Here it's sitting in here, and the bird goes in and flips that up, and you got your house sparrow trapped. Any of you trying to get a new location, there's a songbird magnet, which, can you see that? Which is good. And they also have CDs out there that you can play on a boom box or whatever. This is a camera I'll be putting in here shortly. It will go on top of one of my gourds, and I'll be able to watch the Martin's 7x24 from the TV. So all you got to do is change the input on the TV. And I threw out here a Purple Martin magazine and the nest data sheets and the prognosticator in case any of you haven't used those items before. The one thing today, I have 11 public sites that I maintain, and the 12th one is my own site. We went through and checked everyone today to make sure there was no dead martins in there because of the cold spell we had. We were feeding here. I think we went through about 6 dozen of 6 dozen of eggs and 2,000 crickets in the past week. If any of you have an interest in public sites, I started volunteering for the Game Commission in 2008, taking care of 2 of their T14s here at the Pomatumring Reservoir in Northwest Pennsylvania. I figured it would give me practice and help once I got my own colony started.
Bill?
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry, never mind.
Okay. Okay. So as I started volunteering, the first year, I think it was about 152 birds that we fledged. And then I started adding different locations. And I did mention on the post there that in 2011, I purchased a buy one, get one free, a Lone Star Goliath house that I have 2 different locations here. That's been a really good house for me as far as producing, 85 to 90% of the birds that actually eggs are laid to the fledge, actually fledge. What I've been finding at some of these public sites, I mean, it's very difficult to actually take a pellet gun there and try and trap because you don't know who's going to be watching you. Pellet gun, I'll usually go there around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning when there's not many people there and use that. I did tell the manager of the park one day that I was using a pellet gun, and he told me some things are just left to be like unsaid. But he did say that if it helps to get martins, he would be okay with that. The other thing is trapping. I use the Van Aert traps down there at different Bluebird boxes. One thing I've started doing several years ago, if I have starlings or house sparrows get into some of my martin housing, at each nest check, I'll actually get rid of one of their eggs. So if there's 5 in there, in fact, I had a starling get into a Troyer gourd this today. I threw one of the eggs out and I shook the other ones to see if I could get them to not hatch. The next time I go over there, I'll throw another egg out. I really haven't had any problems by eliminating their eggs numbers slowly. I've had trouble if I pulled them out completely, but when I do it slowly, they seem to accept that. So usually I'll get down to 1 or 2 eggs and just leave them there until they hatch, and then I'll get rid of one of the young.
Hey,
Did you have a
Bill.
question, Brad?
Lindsay Dar has a question. She is using the hand raising emoji. So let's see what she wants to ask you. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I don't know what I hit. I'm like you, I'm just hitting buttons. Like I tipped over my drink and I was trying to, I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
You're
all right.
fine. You're fine.
So even if you have your own personal site and you're unwilling to maybe trap or kill your house sparrows or starlings, by cutting down on the numbers that actually fledge is a lot better, in my opinion, than removing their nest, having them kill an adult martin, especially a female. And, it just, I've had that happen where I get rid of a starling nest and pull it out. And the next time I go and the martin female was dead in the gourd. So to me, that really didn't work out, and so, from my opinion, if I'm going to let one starling fledge, it's better than losing a female martin and 4 or 5 of their young.
Do you have starling resistant holes on all of your
Yes.
housing?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
No round holes whatsoever. Some of the original T14s have the oval entrances, oblong, I guess they would call them, and they can actually get into some of those.
Oh yeah.
They can get into some of my Conley 2 entrances, and I actually saw a starling come out of a excluder to entrance, which is one of the more restrictive entrances out there.
Very much so.
One thing I noticed the other day, right before the cold spell, which was about a week ago, this T14 and this stick scored rack is about 35 yards or a little bit less than the T14 there. And that's been uncovered for over a month, maybe 5 weeks. And up until the beginning of last week, I did not see any of these martins go over there to sit on that T14. So it dawned on me where new landlords are out there trying to put up their houses and hoping for martins to visit, when these martins wouldn't even go 30 yards to sit on that house. Now, the weather broke today. We got up to about 60 degrees. It was 21 this morning. So nobody really flew off these houses until about noon. And only this afternoon did we see, actually this evening, about an hour and a half ago, where I think a female or two come in and they started landing over on that house. So that was kind of interesting that, even our local martins wouldn't land there. So that might somewhat explain how difficult it is to lure an older martin away from its colony to a new colony. I mentioned on the location, on the site there, that when I was in control of all these purple martin colonies, I would keep sometimes 50% of them closed off to help push martins to new locations. And that definitely did help, because most of these locations are pretty much right on the water, and they would attract birds really quick. So I would close off the entrances and just limit 6 or 7 pair, 8 pair, maybe 6 gourds out of a 12 gourd rack to help push birds out to new landlords. So I could do that with these public sites that I was maintaining and monitoring. So if anybody has any questions, martins are coming back in now. I probably have up here in Northwest Pennsylvania, 20 to 25 martins now. And like I said, I had 32 pair last year, so I got a lot more coming in.
Bill, this is Kathy Freeze. I couldn't raise my hand. I couldn't figure it out like Lindsay did, but I'll ask a question anyway. I'm sorry. Did you say how many martins you fledged out of your public sites last year?
I think it was 216 cavities, T14s, Lone Stars, and I fledged 882 birds.
Wow.
Whoa. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That is fantastic.
So
And
did you
Bill-
have help with those 11 colonies?
I did not have help until last year, when
Wow.
the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources asked if I wanted to get some volunteers. And sometimes it's difficult. You need to schedule everything. Okay, we're going to have a nest check at 3 o'clock at this location or whatever. And I always kind of found it, if I was involved in something, it was tough that I had to be there. So I was at every one of those nest checks last year. They helped at 3 locations. We started a new site down at the Pomatuming Dam. It had 1 pair, but we should hopefully increase that a good bit, because it's a beautiful location right next to the dam and the bottom part of the lake.
So what is the range or the average distance between your 11 colonies?
Probably 40 miles. It's
Wow.
about a half mile south is the furthest one, and a half mile north is the furthest one in the north. everything else is pretty much in a line from that point, those 2 points. So maybe 35 miles.
Wow, that's a lot of driving around too.
That is a lot of driving around.
It's it goes quickly. My wife and I visited every one of those sites today, except one of them that's up by Troyer's. And today it was pretty easy. We were just checking for dead martins. We didn't find any. One thing I did find at the school, we made or created a Lakeland Area Purple Martin Association, me and 2 other guys, in 2009. So we have meetings. We have about 100 people on our emailing list. A lot of the interest seems to have died off recently, but I couldn't get to closing up the school last year. It's a 12 gourd rack. And so I don't know if you can see these plates on to close off the gourds about 2 weeks ago, because there was 5 starling nests in there,
Wow.
the Troyer gourds. So I went to open it up today so we could add nesting material. And here was a dead starling in that gourd. So I have heard, Andy and Adam Troyer have told me that starlings will get their beak here and lift this up and go inside a house. Well, this starling had to go in there because they cleaned the nest out 2 weeks ago. So the starling had to raise this up and sneak into that house and couldn't get back out. So he died in there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it was good. The other thing on these plates, on these traps, some landlords called in and said they had seen starlings actually lift this trap up. So they started putting these holes in here. So if they put their beak in there and lift it up and pull the beak out, then it falls back down.
Right.
So if you use this type of trap, you might want to just drill some holes in there, and that should help keep starlings from getting back out of the trap once they're in there.
Is that aluminum or steel or what is that?
It's aluminum. It's
Okay.
aluminum. They used to be all just plain aluminum. And one time, 4 or 5 years ago, I guess, I had some white paint, and I thought that was a deterrent as far as the birds to go back in there, the starling or the house sparrow. So I just shot it with some white paint. And I showed Adam and them, and I guess a year or so later, they started producing them on white aluminum stock so that they would
Okay.
match, the
Right.
gourd face.
Wow.
So, sometimes I give seminars and honestly, I think we scare people away from all this stuff, all this, you might have to do this and do that and feed the birds when they get hungry. But honestly, I've never heard of any purple martin landlord that has got purple martins and decided to say, this hobby isn't that much fun.
No, I agree. And I agree with what you said. I think we do scare a lot of people off because it truthfully is, it is a lot of work, but with much work comes much reward. And you may have mentioned this a while ago. I had to go, y'all continue on. There's a house sparrow. I'm going to go kill it.
Okay.
He doesn't miss a chance.
I can't help it. I got to kill that sparrow.
Go, dude. So I have another question, but I want to give everybody else a chance here. Does anyone else have a question you want to ask Bill?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I see that you have some housing further away from your established housing. So, like, in other words, you showed that you said that you couldn't get any birds to go over to that or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, that house down there.
Right, exactly. So if you did get birds in that house, do you think that it would be a separate colony, or would it be like just, birds from the other colony coming over? Because I have some housing that about 200 yards apart from each other, and I'm wondering who would occupy that? New birds or established birds just looking to branch out?
This almost seems like you mentioned it, like a separate colony. It took a couple years to get this one started. And I think it only started because of the birds in the proximity, 35 yards away. Our dining room window kind of faces that area. So, we always wanted it there so we could sit there and eat and look out the kitchen window and see the birds there. So
Right.
I was happy when we put that T14 up. I think it was 2019. The very next morning, there was two birds sitting on the house.
Wow.
Okay.
So, it is one way to start to start a colony. If you have trees around your area, you can move it out further and then get the birds and then maybe put a house closer and pull them in that way.
Okay.
I know.
Got some birds landing on the new setup that I have, but it doesn't look like there's any takers. But I'm not sure if those birds are from the front yard, just visiting the backyard, or if they're new birds, or I don't know any markings or can identify who they are.
Where are you located?
I'm in Suffolk, Virginia.
Okay, so you still have a lot of birds, even the ASY birds coming in.
I don't even think I have any ASY birds. Everything looks to me like, I have females and then, established males.
We haven't seen any second year birds here in Northwest Pennsylvania, and you're a good bit further south and at this point. But we were talking today, myself and another landlord, that I doubt if 30% of our ASY birds are even here yet. So we still have a good chance. And I think I had about 10 pair in that house last year. So they're starting to add to it because this other one was either closed off or getting fuller. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And again, this evening we saw 3 males and a female out there. So we're thinking that they might have just flown in today, and they're trying to lure her to that house down there.
Hey, Bill, we have a question from Mike Bishop.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Louis, did you have any more questions, Louis?
I was just saying that was fantastic. I think that's great.
It is. Okay, good. All right, so we have a question from Mike Bishop. He asked, do you have any wing entrapments on the T14, or have you even had a problem with that?
I have not had any wing entrapments on T14s, Mike. I have had them on the Lone Star house, and I had to put wing entrapment protectors, I guess they're called, on them. But the T14, usually the wood is thick enough that it keeps birds from actually getting entrapped there. Now, I did have a bird get entrapped in this, I'm not sure what type of hole it is, but number 12 up there, you can see it. I don't know if you can make it out, but it's a plastic tunnel, so to speak. And I've had birds get caught in that scene.
Okay.
And I think most of the Troyer tunnels now have actual wing entrapment protectors built inside the tunnel that extends the opening inside. So it's not just like a 1/8 inch piece of plastic.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
the gourds that I bought last year, they were the first the first gourds that I bought since the first year Troyer came out with the verticals, and I was happy to see that wing entrapment guard inside there. which I never really had. I've had one or two occasions that I've had it happen, but it's definitely not been a problem for me. But it saves one martin, it's worth it.
Right. Did you get the sparrow?
He hadn't come back. I had to go run get my rifle, and I'm back out here. And if I see him, he's gonna die.
Bill, we have a comment from Heather Harris. Bill,
Yes.
she says, Bill, I'm not far from you. I'm in Northeast Ohio, very close to, is that Mosquito, Heather? Just nod, yes or no. Is that Mosquito?
Yeah, that's Mosquito Lake. Yep.
Oh, okay. So send your birds. She's the
Do
first
you have
time.
martins? Do you have martins down there?
At Mosquito, yes, which we're
Good.
not too far. We're what, 5 miles away from Mosquito? 10 miles?
No, we're about 5, 6
About
miles.
5 or 6 miles away from Mosquito.
Okay.
And we just put our first 6 scored rack up last month. So we're
Good.
hoping.
Good. Lloyd Marshall maintains a lot of the purple martin colonies down there. So you might run across him.
Yes, I met him last summer. So
Good.
hoping to work with him on the warblers that he does as well.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's cool. That
Yeah.
sounds like fun.
One thing I wanted to mention how critical it is to control house sparrows. In 2016, my daughter was up here on a Sunday afternoon, and she said, "Dad, there's a house sparrow chasing away visiting purple martins." And she said, "I've tried to shoot them, but I keep missing them." And I was supposed to come up the next morning, and I told her, I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll just come up today." It was a Sunday afternoon, and I got up here, and the house sparrow was up there, and I shot him. And the next morning, martin showed up, and they've been here ever since.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's just the coincidence of, one house sparrow, one tree swallow chasing away a visiting martin could mean the difference of starting a colony or waiting another year. It's a shame that it's like that, but it is.
Preach
Well-
it, brother. Preach it.
I diligently trap here. In fact, I'm outside and I'll share with you all my repeater trap here. I've got a male and a female in there now in their little house that we built for them.
Oh, awesome.
And then I don't know if I can zoom, but I've got a Bluebird box
Oh.
over there. I've got one in the front. And then I don't know
Oh, you
how
got
to
a
really
nice
zoom,
site.
but there's the rack.
Oh, that's a nice site.
That's good. It's-
Bill, I have another question. Have you guys ever banded any of your martins at your various sites to see if they travel to the other sites?
The PMCA was coming down here for probably 3 or 4 years when I first started. And we did notice birds coming down and moving to different locations. In fact, I found one, I think it was last spring, that was actually banded up in Toledo, Ohio, which is about 250 miles away.
Wow.
Wow.
So between the Troyers, and they banded all their birds, and the PMCA, it was, the only problem is you got to have a lot of people looking for bands.
Yeah,
If you don't, then it's a waste of time.
right.
Bob Allnock, he was a good friend of mine. He was a landlord for a long time, and they actually moved a couple pairs from a state park to his house to get to start his colony.
Wow.
And he had a beautiful area. It just, he couldn't start, the purple martin colony. And he started off with one pair, and like within 3 years, he had 70 pairs.
Wow.
But he, go ahead.
I was going to ask if I thought I remembered reading years ago after you said Hurricane Agnes.
Yes.
Didn't the PMCA or some organization, didn't they trap and try to relocate martins to get them started?
Well, I know some organization did, the Game Commission did once, and it wasn't that successful. But Ken Koska, who used to work at the PMCA years ago, helped Bob transplant those two pairs, I think it was, and the one pair stayed, and that's how Bob started his colony. But I think that the year after Bob died, I come back here from a Purple Martin meeting, and I looked out and I saw a orange colored band on one of my birds. And I knew the orange band was what they did when they had a geolocator on the bird. And here, one of my birds had a geolocator on it.
Wow.
And we ended up trapping it and took the geolocator off. I'm not sure if it was a geolocator or a GPS tag at that point, but ended up taking it up to PMCA, which is about 40 miles, 50 miles north of us at Erie, Pennsylvania. So that was exciting to see that orange band and the geolocator on it.
Sure. I don't have any cool stories. I just have Martins.
So, Bill, I want to go back to your point there real quick, because we banded here for about, I think we banded 3 years in a row here.
Okay.
And we had the same challenge of, even though we were banding our birds, only 9% of our birds come back to our sites, or 10%, something like that, right? So
Right.
we know that those subadults are dispersing everywhere else.
Right.
So it's great to band them, but you got to have all those other people out there looking for them too. So I was fortunate enough that my aunt has a colony about, I guess about 13 miles from here. And I had a friend that was about 7 miles from here that had a colony. And I actually found my banded birds at their colonies.
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
was pretty cool. I had a female that nested at my aunt's house 2 years in a row. And she ended up coming back and nesting here at my colony her third year.
Wow.
I know, that was funny. Long story. But anyway, the point is, if I didn't know my aunt and my friend and these other people, they wouldn't even be looking for those bands. So if you're going to band birds, you got to get a group of people together to help look for bands.
Right.
Right.
Always fun to band them, but boy, the work comes afterwards.
Right. Right.
Okay, let's see here. Mike Bishop posted a question. He said, what about using MODIS to track them?
I was supposed to have a seminar at the Middle Creek Wildlife Refuge last March, Mike. And I was going to have a speaker from the University of Delaware come up and talk about MODIS. It's a new way of identifying the travel of even butterflies. I think it's that small. And there was an article in the PMCA Update magazine about them putting a MODIS antenna down in Brazil. So it is something that's actively being used. I know in Southeast Pennsylvania and Delaware. So I know some people, Mike, if you're interested, you can, reach me and I can get you in touch with those. But it is becoming a lot more of a thing, because if for everybody here might not know about the GPS tags or the what started off as a geolocator, you would have to catch the bird once it came back north and take the backpack, the little backpack that they put on the back of a martin, and they would have to catch them and then read the data off of that geologger to find out what it did in the past 6 months or so.
Right.
But this MODIS is active. It's like taking a cell phone and driving down through a certain area. Each cell phone tower picks up your phone, and it's the same thing with this MODIS. That it picks up the birds, and they're finding out more about their feeding as they go out to feed every day, and tracking their movement and travel through the Modus program, which is really interesting.
That is amazing.
Okay, so does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask Bill?
I got about 1 million questions I'd like to ask Bill, but that would take
Shoot.
a lot. No, well, I mean, it's just so very interesting, all the work that you've done and the public sites. That is incredible. Kudos to you. That is a tremendous amount of work. I mean,
Well,
gotta be.
I appreciate it. And Mike Bishop, he's in Virginia, and he's got a whole bunch of public sites down there as well.
That's right.
So,
I remember him. I remember him joining the site last week, maybe week before last. Yeah, I'd love to see somebody do a VST from some public sites so you can talk more about. I don't know how you do it with trapping sparrows and eliminating sparrows. They are absolutely horrible.
yeah.
As you know,
In
and
town, yeah.
I don't think they get enough credit for how detrimental they really are to purple martins. I know people most often think about starlings, but house sparrows cost me my first year of being a landlord because of one stupid male house sparrow that attacked a SY pair. The male actually attacked the SY male. Those martins left and never came back, and they have cost a lot of people a martin colony.
Sure.
And I get just Tammy can tell you, I get just sick of people. Oh my, they coexist. No, they don't. They don't coexist. You're just, I know I'm preaching to the choir. All you guys know that, but they are the bane of my existence. And unfortunately, it wasn't just one male house sparrow. It's a whole family. I saw them fly into a shrub between my house and my parents' house. So it looked like 5 fledglings and an adult pair. So I have seven new targets.
Hey, just so you know, when Brad says sparrows, we're still talking about house sparrows.
Sparrows.
Sparrows. Or sparrows, Kathy.
Sparrows.
Sparrows. Just take
Not
the
a
O
spare
out.
tire.
Just take the O out. Sparrows. House sparrows.
Looks like we have Johnny Gerber trying to join us too. Hey, Johnny.
Ray. Hi, Ray.
Johnny, can you hear us? Johnny's probably just scared we're going to drive to Louisiana and do one at his house.
He's trying to figure out how to turn that phone around.
Johnny and I started as purple martin landlords the same year. I remember that from 2003.
Is that when you started, Brad?
Yes.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have any questions for Bill? Now's the time, man. You got the dude here.
You ain't kidding.
Any of you can, always reach me. You can, my email address is w.wenger, WENGER @comcast.net. The one public site I have here is right by a marina, and it seems like they get a lot of scrap food from the fishermen there and stuff. And I've shot 7 males there and trapped 2 females. And I went back down today and there was another male there. But what I'll do is I took the orange dot off of my Vanart trap, and I put that, the one box is right by the sign, welcome to, the state park. And that way, if it does get triggered, it's not an orange dot getting everybody's attention as far as, okay, what's an orange dot there for?
Right. Good idea.
Well, I got to tell you, Bill, I was anxious to hear how you manage the house sparrow trapping at your public sites. And I think the idea of reducing the size of their nest by taking an egg out a day or a little bit at a time is just I think that's brilliant. That's a great compromise. Instead of letting them fledge 5, just, if you have to, let them fledge 1.
Right.
I think-
I raised my hand now for real.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Hey, okay, so just what you just mentioned, I was curious about what he was saying about taking 1 egg at a time of the house sparrows out, because so I had just been shooting them and I had my repeater trap, but they're not into repeater traps right now because they're kind of nesting. So I've got the end-gourd trap, the Haskell trap, and that's what's really good for me too. But so I guess I'm not understanding this taking eggs out thing. Like I was kind of more interested in that.
Was that a question or just a statement?
Yeah, I kind of missed what you were saying, like taking 1 egg out a day or.
Yeah. If I'm having trouble, actually killing the sport, the house sparrow, whatever. And, I've been down there on Memorial Day weekend with, a pellet gun barrel sticking out of my window and just waiting for somebody, to yell sniper or something. So you got to really be careful because you don't know who's watching you. So what I started doing was just removing 1 egg at a time for each nest check. So if I'm down there today, I removed a starling egg from a nest with 5. So the next time I go there in a week or 5 days or so, I'll remove another egg. And I whittle it down to 1 or 2 eggs until they hatch. And then usually around, one of those times I'll get rid of one of the babies. So there's just 1 baby left in the nest. So in the past, like I said, I've removed those nests and threw them out and go back and find out that, a female martin had gone into that empty, gourd, and the starling had ended up killing it. So to me, that definitely wasn't worthwhile to lose a female martin, for the sake of eliminating that starling. So by cutting down on the number they fledge really helps control their numbers.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was a little unclear on that. And I just wanted to make sure I understood.
If I had the choice, I'd kill them, for sure. But sometimes you just can't get them depending on where they're located, which side of the house or whatever. And, sometimes, most of my screens are off my windows right now facing these houses. So in case I do see something, I can just slowly open the window and shoot right out instead of having to play around with removing a screen.
Right.
I've done the same thing.
It's a management strategy, Lindsay, for public sites where you don't want to freak people out when you're shooting or trapping or killing those cute little birds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Bill,
Okay.
have you tried coating the eggs with oil?
I have not tried that. I've used a pin and stuck holes into them.
Right.
And I've shaken them hard, and that seems to cut down on their hatching as well. It's called addling.
Right.
But I have not tried. Maybe I did once, but it just didn't seem to work well for me as far as the oil.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just didn't know if you'd tried it or not. In theory, it should work very well, but I've never actually tried it myself.
Yeah.
It should seal the pores in the
Right.
membrane. So
Right. I know they do that with goose eggs up here. There's geese all over the place. So I know one place that I have a T14 starling moved in and took over the whole section, all 4. So I need to, take care of him for sure because, that's, 4 pairs of martins that is not, going to take place.
right. I think the Purple Martin Fanatic group needs to secure a bond so we can bail you or me out of jail, because I think we're the 2 most likely to
Yeah.
to get put in jail for shooting stuff. So
Yeah, I did think of something the other day. I have an extended pickup, and I climbed out of the front seat and I climbed into the back, and I wound my windows up just so I had enough room to shoot out of it.
yeah,
It was kind of awkward, and I'm trying to think if people saw me climbing into the back seat, wondered, what I was doing there. But after a period of time, the house sparrows and starling would get comfortable with, not seeing any, body in there, because
Right.
the windows are tinted a little bit more.
Yep.
One other thing too, I have 3 public sites in Pittsburgh, and actually that's how I met Mike Bishop. He visited one of my sites and wanted to know whose site it belonged to. But instead of using the Haskell trap, I've used a small garter pin hooked to a fishing rod. And in that case, the garter pin holds the trap up. And if you're having trouble with maybe, a pair of starlings, you can try and allow both starlings to go into the cavity and then yank the fishing rod and pull the garter pin out and catch them both at one time.
great idea.
Good idea.
So it kind of looked odd, me sticking a fishing rod out of a parking lot, that was 10 miles from any fishing water. But, sometimes you have to do what you got to do.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, guys, it's getting dark for Bill, and if anyone,
Bill, I just want to say publicly how thankful I am that you're active on our site, because you really are a wealth of knowledge, and we're very happy to have you.
Well, I appreciate it. I haven't been on as much. I'm redoing our bathroom here, and that's kind of taken up a good bit of my time right now.
well, thanks for doing this VST tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
I think it's
Thank
really
you.
helpful, after sitting in on 1 or 2 of them, that it really gets a lot of suggestions out there for people.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree. I think these are
Yep.
great. I think they're fantastic.
Just the little things that you don't think to type on the forum, or someone forgets to ask.
Right.
There's been a lot of stuff that I've taken home from listening to you talk, but one thing that jumped out at me yesterday when we were doing the test, and then again today, is you've got that other house in those gourds just on the other side of your little shop there, and nobody would say that that's not a good location for a purple martin house.
Right.
But if you hadn't moved that, to where you're standing now, you might not have martins. But that is plenty far enough away from trees. It's amazing. Maybe that's something that, we need to recommend more to people who are having trouble, is to, get a cheap second system and put it somewhere else on their property just to see if you can locate them, because
Yep.
that is not a bad spot. According to Brad, the purple martins apparently don't like it, but Brad thinks it looks fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go by what the, PMCA talked about was, 50 feet, 60 feet. I know it's closer down south. If you're down south, you can get them, in closer. And I don't know if we have more hawks up here or what, but I cut probably 12 trees down here from the time I started. Each year that I didn't get a martin, I'd cut another tree down. And now I got a couple apple trees and one from my mother-in-law that's planted over there that my wife doesn't want me to cut down for some reason.
That one
But,
will never come down then.
I keep topping it off, but
Okay.
but,
All right.
there's a lot to it. It's really a fun hobby.
It is. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Bill. We very much appreciate your time tonight. And thanks everyone else for joining. We appreciate you guys' participation as well and keeping us going with this.
Absolutely.
And
All right,
if you want
guys.
to volunteer for next week, please let us know. You know where to find us.
Well, next week's covered.
Oh, okay. It already is.
Yeah, that's the electric predator guard
Okay. Perfect.
thing.
We,
Perfect.
All
All
right,
right.
guys.
Good night,
It's been
everybody.
fun.
Thank you very
thank you
much.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Good night, everybody.
All right,
Good
take
night.
care.
Y'all have a good night. See
Bye.
ya.
Bye.